All right, we're going to talk about Mystery Babylon this morning. So turn to Revelation chapter 17. There's a lot of controversy over the identity of Mystery Babylon. And we're going to go over the different possibilities, and then I'm going to show you proof positive that it's the Roman Catholic Church. I'm not going to lead up to it or, I'm going to tell you right up front, it's the Roman Catholic Church, and I'm definitely not a fan of Roman Catholicism. So Revelation chapter 17 verses 1 through 6. We'll go down through that quick. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-collared beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet collar, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Okay. Now there are basically 5 different possibilities for the identity of this Mystery Babylon. And of course there would be a 6th possibility, and that would be the Catholic interpretation that it's just symbolic, and that it's all the events of Revelation took place in the past, and now we're in this, millennial kingdom that's not really 1,000 years, That's called amillennial belief, and it's the teaching of the Roman Catholic Church because they can't handle the Bible. Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm going to be real blunt here, but you're an idiot if you believe in amillennial teaching. There's no nice way to put it. Okay, the waters never turned to blood. There was never, all the nations being joined together in one nation with an Antichrist and everything else. That's nonsense. That stuff has not happened yet. You read through the book of Revelation, and most of it is not symbolic. Most of it is literal. I heard a statement the one time, Revelation's not really hard to understand, it's just hard to believe. And there's a lot of truth to that. The waters being turned to blood and all the living creatures dying. Is there anything at all symbolic about that? No. Is it hard to believe? Well, it's hard to imagine. I'll say that. I mean, we live not too far, down there across the road there's a creek, and up the road a little ways there's a lake. I can't imagine that being blood, but it's going to happen. Why? Because the Bible says it's going to happen. Okay, but there are 5 things. We'll just throw out the amillennial thing. That's just nonsense. But then there are 5 possibilities for the fulfillment of this city that's being spoken of there, which is what it is, by the way. It's a city. Number 1, you have actual Babylon, geographic Babylon, which is in Iraq. Okay, that's the first possibility. That's possibility number 1. Number 2 is Jerusalem, Israel. That's what a lot of the anti-Semitic people like Tex Mars, he teaches that. Okay, Mystery Babylon is Jerusalem. Number 3, you have America. That's another one I've heard. Actually very popular. Number 4, and there are some people that do teach this, that it's the Illuminati, which I'll show you why they believe that, why they teach that. But that's another nonsense one. And then, of course, the 5th possibility, which is, I shouldn't say possibility because it's the truth, is the Vatican City in Rome. Okay, that's your one there. That's definitely that one. And I'm going to show you by the end of this study, you're going to be convinced that it is Roman Catholicism that is described here. But now let's look at some points about this city, this Mystery Babylon. Okay, first of all, she is symbolized as a woman. Nearly every verse down through there, verses 1 through 7, it's she, the woman which thou sawest. It's woman, okay? Now, of those 5 possibilities, how many of them are often called a woman? Only one of them. Is geographic Babylon called in Iraq, is that called a woman? No. What about Jerusalem? No. America? No. Well, they say Lady Liberty. Well, that's a Statue of Liberty. But you don't really have America being called or symbolized as a woman. Okay, you have the Statue of Liberty, but that's not America. That's one place in America. The Illuminati? No. But what about Roman Catholicism? They call Roman Catholicism the Mother Church. Yes, she's described as a woman. Okay, secondly, Revelation 17, verse 18. Look there quick. It says, "And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth." Okay? Now, what about the thing of a city? Is geographic Babylon in Iraq a city? Yes. What about Jerusalem? Yes. How about America? Is America a city? No. The Illuminati? No. Vatican City? Yes. So, there you have that. Okay. Let's just continue down through here. Number 3, the great city reigns over the kings of the earth. We just read about that there. Does geographic Babylon in Iraq reign over the kings of the earth? Hardly. What about Jerusalem? No. Some people try to say that it does. They try to do this Zionism thing, that the Jews control everything. That's nonsense. They don't. You have a lot of the Arabic nations over there that the Jews are not in control of them, and they want to wipe out Israel. So no, Jerusalem does not rule the kings of the earth. Okay, America, do we control China or Russia? No. All the time you see Obama going over and he's bowing down to these kings and stuff. He just met with the president of China here, I think just this past week, and he bowed to him. We don't control the kings of the earth. Okay, what about the Illuminati? Well, yeah, you can make the case there that there's probably something to that. And the term Illuminati is kind of an elusive term because you have a lot of groups within this Illuminati structure, and they aren't all specifically Illuminati, but that's another study. What about Vatican City? Do they rule over the kings of the earth? Absolutely. It's weird to see every president has to go and bow before the Pope. I have pictures of all of them doing it. They're all going over there and meeting him, kissing his ring and stuff like that, kneeling before him. Well, what's going on? I mean, if the Pope is just the head of a religious system, why are our presidents bowing to him? And all these other kings and things, why are they going and bowing to the Pope? We'll get into that as we continue here too. So you see the first 3 there. Symbolized as a woman, she's a city. Great city reigns over the kings of the earth. Roman Catholicism is the only one that basically lines up with all 3 of those. But now point number 4, this city sits on 7 mountains. Okay, verse 9. Look at verse 9. "And here's the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth." Okay, now, what about geographic Babylon in Iraq? Well, they claim that, yes, geographic Babylon does sit on 7 mountains. What about number 2, Jerusalem? Well, they say that of Jerusalem too. I can't prove all that, but I've heard it of Jerusalem. What about America? Does America sit on 7 mountains? A city that sits on 7 mountains? Hardly. No. Doesn't work. The Illuminati, does it sit on 7 mountains? No, that doesn't work either. What about Vatican City? Yeah. Vatican City they call it about, there's actually a song. I have a video by Dave Hunt, and I don't agree with him on a lot of issues, but he did make a good video on Mystery Babylon, and he actually showed that there's a song that they sing over there about the city of 7 hills or something like that. So, yes, the Vatican City does sit on 7 mountains. Does qualify for that. Okay, number 5, her collars are purple and scarlet. Look at verse 4. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet collar, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Did you ever see a Catholic processional or whatever where the Pope's walking along over there in Vatican City? Gold, silver, pearls, just in abundance. I mean, carrying solid gold staffs and everything like that. I mean, that right there should tip you off. Where's this stuff at in the Bible? Where do you see any of the disciples walking around with golden staffs and long flowing gowns and silk slippers? You should watch out for any man that goes out in public in silk slippers, by the way. But purple and scarlet. Look at a big gathering of cardinals and bishops sometimes. I mean, cardinals in red, bishops in purple. Okay, but let's go down through the list again. Geographic Babylon. Excuse me. Babylon and Iraq. Are their collars purple and scarlet? No. Jerusalem. What are the collars of Jerusalem? Blue and white. That's the color of their flag. America. Red, white, and blue. It's not purple and scarlet. We're not identified by that color here. The Illuminati? No. What about Vatican City? Purple and scarlet are the collars of Vatican City. You see it all over the place over there, especially when there's big meetings of all the cardinals and bishops. That's their collars, purple and scarlet. I mean, it's right there. Okay, number 6, she is drunk with the blood of the saints and martyrs of Jesus. Okay, what about Geographic Babylon? Is Geographic Babylon guilty of shedding the blood of martyrs and saints of Jesus? Maybe a couple, but definitely not drunk with the blood. Okay, not a huge number. What about Jerusalem? Yeah, a couple here and there, but certainly not to the extent of the Roman Catholic Church. What about America? Yeah, right. America hasn't shed the blood of the martyrs and saints of Jesus. The Illuminati? No. There again, not really. They haven't really killed that many Christians. Vatican City. What about Vatican City? A few, I mean, it's I've heard numbers from anywhere from 10 to 50 million Christian martyrs down through the centuries. It's certainly over 10 million. I don't know the actual number. I don't think that you can know the actual number because the ones that were keeping records of citizenship and everything, or how many people and census and all that, would have been the Catholic Church back through the Dark Ages. So how many people are being killed? I don't think we'll ever know till we get to be with the Lord. Then we'll actually see the martyrs there. But it's millions and millions and millions have been killed by Roman Catholicism. And I'm going to show you a little bit later from one of their Bibles what they have to say about that. Okay, so of those 6 points, this Mystery Babylon is a woman. She's a city. She reigns over the kings of the earth. She sits on 7 mountains. Her collars are purple and scarlet, and she's drunk with the blood of the saints and martyrs of Jesus. The only one that lines up with all 6 points is the Roman Catholic Church, Vatican City. The only one. All the other ones, you have to spiritualize things. You have to twist the scriptures to say things that they don't say. I mean, I read some of the arguments that America is Babylon, Mystery Babylon. And the guy was going to the Greek, of course, and the word here could actually mean this. And he was doing all kinds of contortions with the scriptures to prove that it was America. And these verses that talk about drunk with the blood of the saints and martyrs of Jesus, well, he was twisting that, and it doesn't really mean what it says, and nonsense. It's the Roman Catholic Church, okay? But now I want to talk about here the claim that I actually heard Fritz Springmeier make the one time about that he believes that the Mystery Babylon is a reference to the Illuminati. Revelation chapter 18, verse 24. this is the verse he quoted. I'm going to show you why it doesn't work. It says, "And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth." So he said, see now, the Roman Catholic Church only existed since about 300 or so AD, approximately, of course. And so it can't be the Roman Catholic Church because they aren't guilty of all that were slain upon the earth. So it has to be the Illuminati. Well, you got a problem there because the Illuminati didn't show up till 1776. Okay. What's being talked about here is Babylon, Mystery Babylon, the Babylonian system. Okay, now, if you went to some company that has been torturing people for 300 years, and it was founded by Henry Smith, and now Henry Smith Jr. is running it, do you charge him for the same, or for all the crimes that Smith Persecuting Incorporated? Do you charge them for all the crimes that they've ever done? Yeah. You see, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they aren't the same necessarily as. Well, I'll say it this way: it doesn't matter that the Roman Catholic Church isn't necessarily the same as ancient Babylon in name and title, but they're still carrying out the same system of belief. So yes, it's part of, Satan's church. Okay, Murder Incorporated, we'll say. It goes back the whole way back to ancient Babylon, and it comes up to today as the Roman Catholic Church. Now let's turn to Daniel chapter 2, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Daniel chapter 2 in your Old Testament there. Excuse my voice here. Daniel chapter 2, verse 31. Okay. Daniel 2:31 says, "Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them, and the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth." Okay, this vision, this dream that Nebuchadnezzar had was basically a prophecy concerning this Babylonian system. Here you actually have geographic Babylon. Okay, this is where it starts out at. And it starts out with King Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, but then there's going to come 4 kingdoms after his. Okay, and each one is going to be inferior to this image of gold here, the head of gold, which is where King Nebuchadnezzar is basically at there. Okay, but I want you to notice something. Are these kingdoms separate in their time period? Yeah. But are they part of the same body? Yes. So you see, you could have the 5th kingdom being guilty of all the crimes of those other 4 kingdoms. Why? Because it's the same body. Yes, they're separate kingdoms. They're separate. You have basically Babylonian, Medio-Persian, and then you have Greece, and then you have Rome, and then you have Roman Catholicism. Okay, you have that 5th kingdom. Okay, but they're separate, but they're all part of that same body. So you have the 5th kingdom being guilty of the other 4 kingdoms' sins. That's what's going on there. But now look down to verse 40. It says, "And the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron, forasmuch as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise." There you have your Roman legions. And they were very tough. Verse 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. See, okay. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. Okay, notice it says basically there that the God of heaven is going to set up a kingdom. Okay, it isn't post-millennial that we're going to set up a kingdom here, we're going to bring in the kingdom, and then Jesus shows up at the end, and Christians will destroy the Antichrist and the false prophet in the Roman Catholic Church. The God of heaven is going to destroy it. Read Revelation 19, listen to the other studies. Jesus Christ is the only one who's going to defeat this system. Okay, that's why you can't be anything but premillennial if you're a Bible believer. All right, but you see, the truth is, the iron kingdom, the fourth kingdom, does not completely go away. It changes, it transforms into the feet, which is part iron, part clay. Okay? It's not that the iron, you see, when the gold goes away, it doesn't say, okay, now the gold is going to get mixed in with some of the silver, and then the silver gets mixed in with brass. Each of those kingdoms disappears. The gold goes away, and it's no more gold. Now it becomes silver. Then the silver goes away. But you see, with this iron, the iron doesn't completely go away. And you see, if you study history, you see back in the 4th century, I'll say it that way, back in the 4th century, you see the Roman Empire basically crumbling. The Western Empire falls apart, goes away. But then the other part of the Roman Empire merges and changes into the Roman Catholic Church. All right? But now I just want to look at something here. So you have the Roman aspect of this fifth kingdom, the iron. But what about this clay? What is clay a type of in the Bible? Go to Isaiah chapter 45. Go back a couple books. Bunch of chapters. Isaiah chapter 45, verse 9. Isaiah 45, verse 9 says, Woe unto him that striveth with his Maker! Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioneth it, What makest thou? Or thy work, he hath no hands? So what's clay a type of? Us. Our flesh. Turn to Romans chapter 9. I'll show you the verse that's very similar here. Romans chapter 9, verse 20. Verses 20 and 21, actually. Okay, Romans 9, verse 20. Nay, but, O man, who art thou that repliest against God? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, Why hast thou made me thus? Hath not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? So you see there that clay is a type of our flesh. And you don't really have a right to complain to God. Okay? You don't have a right to say, Why'd you make me this way? Well, no, don't do that. So, but I just want to prove the point there that clay is a type in the Bible of our flesh. So, what do you have? You have this kingdom of iron and of clay. The iron is very clearly the Roman Empire. The clay is flesh. So that's your mixture there of the fifth kingdom. It's Roman and then flesh. And I'm going to show you a little bit more on that here in just a minute. turn to Revelation, go back to Revelation chapter 17. I'm going to show you something interesting here. It's weird because a lot of times you'll see this thing of a lost person will actually make a statement totally ignorant of what the Scripture says, and they actually confirm the King James Bible by their statement, and they don't even know it. And I'm going to read an article from a Catholic website here in just a minute or two, but it says, Revelation chapter 17, verse 1, "And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters." Okay, what are these waters? Verse 15, "And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." So the great whore sits upon many waters, and these waters are people. Okay, what are people? They're flesh. So this woman, this Roman system, is going to have a lot of flesh under her control. And guess what? Guess which church is the biggest of all on this earth? Which church has the most members? Roman Catholicism. 1.1 billion members worldwide. The biggest of all churches. The second biggest is the Islam, which is like 940 million. Okay? Don't try to compete, by the way, if you're a Bible believer. We're never going to be in the running for the biggest church. So, in spite of what some of the brethren try, with their big church buildings, not going to work. But here I got on this website, fallibleblogma.com. The guy's a Catholic, and he has a thing in here about, there are about 1.1 billion Roman Catholics. Now listen to what he says here in this paragraph. And this guy, he couldn't turn to this verse, to the Revelation 17, verse 1 and 15. He couldn't turn to him to save his life probably, but he says here, "So if you are ever unsure about the number of Catholics in the world or their influence, just remember that the Catholic Church is an ocean in a world full of ponds and puddles, just as we would hope Christ's church would be." So in other words, if Jesus had a church, it would be the biggest one. Wrong. Broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. But see, a Catholic looks at things through the flesh. And by the way, there in Revelation 17, I thought it was interesting. Verse 6, John says, "And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration." He didn't say astonishment or wonder. He said admiration. Why would John admire this woman that was drunk? In the same verse, she's drunk with the blood of the saints and martyrs of Jesus. Why would he admire her? Because she appears religious. That's why. And she's, decked in gold and silver and everything else. Okay, so she is definitely appearing religious. And that's why a lot of people are deceived. Okay, now, turn to Galatians chapter 5. We're going to look at something here. As I just stated, the Roman Catholic Church is the biggest collection of flesh on the planet. It's the biggest church. So let's talk about the flesh here quickly. Galatians 5:19 through 21 gives the lusts of the flesh. Now, if the Catholic Church is the one most involved with the flesh, then these lusts of the flesh should be in abundance. We're going to see that that's exactly true. So, let's look at how the Roman Catholic Church measures up to the lusts of the flesh. Number 1, verse 19, "Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery." Is there adultery in the Roman Catholic Church? Sure, absolutely. And I want to read something here that's interesting. A lot of people aren't aware of this. Here I have the New St. Joseph Baltimore Catechism on page, where are we at? 139 here. 139. It says, "A Catholic who is married by a justice of the peace or a Protestant minister is really not married at all, but simply living in sin. If a Catholic is quote-unquote married in this way, it is hypocrisy and a mockery of God. God puts no bond of marriage around such a couple as he does around couples who are married by a priest. When a Catholic is married at a civil or non-Catholic ceremony, other Catholics are not allowed to be present or even to send gifts or show any approval, since this is not a real marriage, but simply a terrible agreement to live together in sin. If the marriage takes place at a religious ceremony, the Catholic party is excommunicated. To have this sin forgiven, the couple must be married by a priest or separate from each other. Now, I'm not going to keep reading here, but it goes on to say that if you are a Catholic and you've been ignorant and you married a Protestant, you should immediately divorce them and leave them. Which is very interesting because 1 Corinthians 7:12 through 14 says, But to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother hath a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. And the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. So the Catholic Catechism goes directly against the Scriptures. Okay? Which, no big deal for the Catechism, because when you have a problem with the Scripture, well, you just throw in divine tradition. Okay? You make the Word of God of none effect by your traditions. See, this is the wicked church here. If you've been deceived into thinking that Catholicism is another branch of Christianity, you better repent of that quick. They're not. Okay? This is the devil's church. So, there is certainly adultery in the Catholic Church. You have, divorces, I'm sure, going on quite a bit. But then also you actually have the Catholic Church teaching that you should leave, you should divorce on unscriptural grounds. Okay, so yes, there is adultery. Okay, what about number 2 there? Adultery, fornication. Is there fornication in the Catholic Church? Probably 1 or 2 times a second. Yeah, there's plenty of fornication in the Catholic Church. This book here, I'm not going to read it for sake of time, the thing about it, but this is a book, 50 Years in the Church of Rome. Very, very good book. Charles Chiniquy, I think is how you say that. This is written back in the 1800s, the mid-1800s. This guy was a friend of Abraham Lincoln. Jack Chick has some good stuff on him. And he told of an example where a bishop came to him and did a confession to him, and he admitted that he had had over 75 acts of fornication with women, different women. 75 in the mid-1800s. All this stuff that's going on right now, it's all over the news, all the pedophiles and all this, oh, what a shock. That's been going on for hundreds of years, thousands of years. Okay? And in the future here, I don't know if it'll be next week or not. I don't know if I'll have it done till then. But I want to talk about some of the doctrines and the teachings of Roman Catholicism, one of which being this thing of auricular confession. Okay? And that thing dates back to Babylon. And what you do is you take a single man and you tell him he's not allowed to get married. So the Bible commands there again, 1 Corinthians 7, it's better to marry than to burn. Okay? And if you have a need there, it's perfectly fine and acceptable for you to get married. But the Catholic Church goes against that for a very simple reason. Because it makes a system of blackmail. Okay? First you have the single priest that has no ability to take care of needs because he can't get married. And then you have him sitting in a confessional box, and he is required to ask about the personal, not only what a woman is doing, even if she's married, she has to tell him everything about her and her husband's intimate relationships. That's a fact. But she also has to tell him her thoughts. Everything has to be confessed or her sins cannot be forgiven. So here you got this single priest in there, and he's not saved, so the Holy Spirit's not even there to help him. And now he's got to listen to all this stuff coming from these people who aren't saved either. Well, it's a recipe for disaster. And that's the intent. Because once you get people who are compromised, who are doing things that are sinful and wicked, then you can hold that over them and say, you're going to do what I tell you to do, or I'm going to reveal this stuff. See? And it's getting to such a point now where so many little kids are being just molested, and I mean, it's a terrible thing. Now they're starting to come out and actually admit to what's going on. And you have Catholics right now that will defend everything that the Catholic Church is doing. Okay? They are that wicked and that brainwashed that they will defend what Roman Catholicism is doing. The Pope could go into their family and rape the wife and molest the kids right in front of them, and they'd still defend him. See? And you tell me that's another branch of Christianity? Nonsense. No, that's Satanism. All right, that is the devil's church. But let's continue on here. Galatians chapter 5, you have adultery, fornication, uncleanness. I don't think we need to show any examples of that. There's plenty of uncleanness in the Catholic Church. Lasciviousness. Now, what is lasciviousness? That means, if you look it up in Webster's 1828 dictionary, it says looseness, irregular indulgence of animal desires, wantonness, lustfulness. Okay? Now, not only do you have, I want to say this too, not only do you have that among the Catholic clergy, the priests and things, not only are they lascivious, but you also have it among the Catholic people. The Catholic people are very much, partiers, drunkards, everything else. Okay, let's continue here. Idolatry is the next one. No, not the Catholic Church. There's no idolatry in the Catholic Church. Yeah, right. They're the ones that have more idols, basically, than anybody other than maybe the Hindus. Okay, but there again, you see the Catholic Pope going and meeting with the leaders of Hinduism. I've seen a picture of a priest of Shiva or something, this woman coming up and giving the mark of Shiva on the forehead of the Pope, Pope John Paul II. I have a picture like that in my files. They're all the same crew. That's the whole thing. And it's kind of funny too because, I know a radical pre-Vatican II Catholic and they try to stick by the old ways of Catholicism and everything. They don't go along with the ecumenical movement. Well, you have to understand that the Catholic Church is about getting control of all the flesh out there. They don't care about loyalty to Jesus Christ. Not at all. That's what they portray to the people. But there was actually one of the popes, I don't remember which one it was, but he said how profitable the fable of Christ has been to us. See, that's the true philosophy of Catholicism. They're in it for the money. They're in it for the control. They're not worshipers of Jesus Christ. They only use the terminology to deceive people. But let's continue here. Okay, you have verse 20 there. Idolatry, witchcraft. What about witchcraft? Oh, the Catholic Church wouldn't be involved in that, would they? Well, actually, if you look at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, there's a thing in witchcraft called the Eightfold Path of Enlightenment. It's a circle, and it has 8 spokes, so to speak, in it. Now, the biggest one of those in the world is St. Peter's Basilica. It's the biggest Eightfold Path of Enlightenment. And back through the Dark Ages, they would kill witches a lot of times, and people say, well, see, then they're not for witchcraft. No, that was just eliminating competition, is what it was. Okay? Roman Catholicism is very much friendly with witchcraft. All right? Number 7 here, hatred. What about hatred? Well, ask a Catholic, a really fanatical one, sometime, what do you think about Martin Luther or Oliver Cromwell or some Protestants? You get to see hatred firsthand. But in case you don't believe, in Catholic hatred of real Christians, I want to go here. I have here an original reprint of a 1610 Jesuit Douay-Rheims Bible. So we're going to go back. I was doing some research here and I found this and I just couldn't believe it. They're footnotes on Revelation chapter 17. And it says here, the Protestants foolishly expound it to Rome, speaking of the blood of the martyrs and saints of Jesus. They're trying to refute the thing of the Protestants saying, you people are killing Christians. Okay, and this is written back in 1610. So this is back when they were still killing Christians. But it says, The Protestants foolishly expound it to Rome, for that there they put heretics to death, and allow of their punishment in other countries. But their blood is not called the blood of saints, no more than the blood of thieves, man-killers, and other malefactors, for the shedding of which, by order of justice, no commonwealth shall answer. Think of that. In other words, you want to kill a Protestant? Well, it's the same as killing a thief or a murderer or whatever. Just kill them. You won't have to answer for it. That's what they're teaching. And here's a little note here. It says, putting heretics to death is not to shed the blood of saints. So if you're a heretic according to Roman Catholicism, you can be killed. No problem. Okay? And they still have those beliefs today. You know, the Vatican II thing with all the ecumenical nonsense was just a smokescreen to draw in a bunch of stupid professing Christians that, oh, we trust Roman Catholicism now. They're not bad anymore. Yes, they are. Okay. Let's continue on here. And by the way, I just want to say, too, it's perfectly fine and acceptable to hate Roman Catholicism, but we have to be careful that that hatred does not spill over onto the Catholics. Okay, there are some Catholics that you could probably hate, because they're not going to change. They're not, they're fanatics. But there are a lot of them that are just ignorant. And right now, by the way, is a very good time to witness to Catholics, because a lot of them are very disillusioned. They're starting to question. They're saying, if this is the one true church, then why do the priests molest children? I don't want my kids being molested. And they're starting to kind of scratch their heads. See, we should not have hatred for those people. They're in it innocently, ignorantly. That's why they're in it. But as far as hating evil, I just want to read 2 verses here. Romans 12:9. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good. And that's kind of referring back to Amos chapter 5, verse 15. The first part of it says, hate the evil and love the good, and establish judgment in the gate. So yes, you should hate evil. You see, true love requires true hatred. But, as I said, don't let that hatred spill over onto the Catholic people themselves. Okay, number 8. You see there in verse 20. Idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance. Okay, now what is variance? Variance is difference that produces dispute or controversy, dissension, discord. Do the differences between us and Catholics produce dissension and discord? Of course, yeah. Okay, and of course they're not going to submit to the teachings of the Bible and repent and change. And we can't change our stands either. So yes, there is a lot of variance within the Catholic Church. But what about the next one there? Emulations. How do you define emulation? Well, I'm going to read here. Webster's 1828 dictionary definition says, the act of attempting to equal or excel in qualities or actions, rivalry, desire of superiority, attended with effort to attain to it, generally in a good sense, or an attempt to equal or excel otherwise in that which is praiseworthy, without the desire of depressing others. Okay, it can be good, but it says in a bad sense, a striving to equal or do more than others to obtain carnal favors or honors. Is the Pope on the same level as the Catholic on the street? No. They worship the Pope as God. So is there emulation within the Catholic Church? Yes, certainly. All right, what about the next one there? We have emulations, wrath. Well, what about wrath? I'm going to read here a little bit of the Jesuit extreme oath of induction. The Jesuits were started in the mid-1500s to counter the Reformation, okay, to bring all churches back under the control of Rome. And by the way, we are in the final stages of that, where all the big denominations are now under Roman Catholic control. That's why you shouldn't be part of a denomination, by the way. That's why we call ourselves Bible believers. I mean, our doctrines are basically Baptist, and we agree with the Baptist denomination in most issues, but we aren't going to call ourselves Baptist because we don't want to be linked to a denomination. It's not a sin necessarily, but we are Bible believers. That's what we are. Okay? But I just want to read here a little bit of the extreme oath of induction. This is what a Jesuit swears to when they are initiated into the higher realms and when they go out to actually deceive Protestants. They say, the superior actually says to the Jesuit that's there to be trained, he says, "You have been taught to insidiously plant the seeds of jealousy and hatred between communities, provinces, states that were at peace, and incite them to deeds of blood, involving them in war with each other, and to create revolutions and civil wars in countries that were independent and prosperous, cultivating the arts and the sciences, and enjoying the blessings of peace." Roman Catholicism does not want people getting along and having peace. Okay? They don't want that. They incite wrath and hatred. Okay? What about strife? The next one. Well, I'm going to read further down here in the extreme oath of induction for the Jesuits. It says, "I furthermore promise," this is what a Jesuit has to swear, "I furthermore promise and declare that I will, when opportunity present, make and wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants and liberals, as I am directed to do, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, and that I will hang, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the walls, in order to annihilate forever their execrable race. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poisoned cup, the strangulating cord, the steel of the poniard, or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, or authority of the person or persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed so to do by any agent of the Pope or superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Faith of the Society of Jesus." Good Christian love there, brother. I'll tell you what. You can just feel the love, you read through it. But you see, that's what they do. Okay, you talk about strife. They're saying, don't let anybody get along. Kill them if you can. Assassinate them. Murder them. And that's what the Jesuits have done. And their killing and murdering here in America has been mostly through the Bible colleges. They've killed and murdered Christians' faith in the King James Bible. And they're getting Christians to think well of the Catholic Church, which is just disgusting. Okay, let's continue on here. Seditions is the next one. Okay, a sedition is a rebellious uprising against authority. Well, obviously the Jesuits there. And, people say, you ask the average modern day fundamentalist Christian, what are you worried most about? Oh, those Islamic terrorists, Al-Qaeda and stuff like this. I'm not worried about them. Islam does not scare me one bit, to be honest with you. I'm not really worried about Islam. The Jesuits, yeah. The Jesuits are a much more serious threat, and you can see their influence in the churches because 99% of Christians don't even think about them. They drive past a Jesuit university, you say, hey, what's that? There's a Jesuit center. What do you think of that? Oh, I don't know. Hey, there's a guy that's Islamic. We should call Homeland Security. It's ridiculous. Okay. Let's continue on here. Number 13, we have heresies. Are there heresies within the Catholic Church? Yeah, there's a few, here and there. Like I said, I'm going to do another follow-up message to this one where I actually go into transubstantiation and the confessional and nuns and monks and all this other stuff. I'm going to show you that stuff is heresy. But let's go to verse 21, envyings. A Catholic does not have joy. They don't have peace. They don't have hope. A true Catholic is taught that you have to work all of your life, and if you die in a state of grace, you might not have to spend as much time in purgatory. I mean, the best of the best Catholics believe that when they die, they're going to burn. I mean, think about that. Do they envy a Christian? Do they envy a Bible believer? Yeah. they'll get mad, well, these Protestants, they say that they know that they are going to heaven. They say that they can know it. That's ridiculous. Yeah, they envy the peace that a Bible-believing Christian has. So yes, there's envying there. Let's look at the next one. Murders. A few. Up into the couple of million there. Drunkenness. They drink wine for communion. Of course there's drunkenness. And there again, Charles Chiniquy's book, 50 Years in the Church of Rome, he talked about going different places to see bishops or different dioceses, and he would go in and he would walk right in on a drunken, all the priests are sitting around drunk. And that's back in the 1800s. So, yeah, I'm sure that there's quite a bit of drunkenness and wickedness in the Catholic Church today as well. And, of course, the Catholic people a lot of times are drunks. And I do want to say one other thing. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien, and C.S. Lewis were both... C.S. Lewis was supposed to be an Anglican or something. He was a Catholic. Okay, he believed that he was going to purgatory when he died. His books have turned a lot of Catholics back to their faith. I mean, both men were members of the Order of the Golden Dawn, which is a very high-level occult organization. They were both occultists. Okay, they wanted to make paganism sound Christian, which is the job of the Catholic Church. Tolkien was a radical Roman Catholic. He told his son the one time, I did a lot of research into both these men, that's why I'm talking about them, but Tolkien told his one son that the only thing that you can really truly love on this earth is the Blessed Sacrament, the Eucharist. Not Jesus Christ. Of course, to a Catholic, the Eucharist is Jesus Christ, which is heretical nonsense. But Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were taking paganism and trying to make it Christian, okay, which you can't do. And where did they meet? The Inklings was their group, and they met with a lot of the other big scholars and, guys like that. They met in pubs. The Inklings met at the Bird and Baby, I think, was the one that they met at, and then they met at another place. But they're reading Tolkien's letters to family members or to different people. He was talking about alcohol the whole time, and saying about how his wife was complaining because his barrel of beer behind the kitchen, it was leaking all the time, and it smelled of beer in the house all the time like that. These guys just drank all the time. And Tolkien, when he got up in years, he was complaining because his doctor told him he couldn't drink for a little while. These guys were drunkards. Big time. There are stories of where Tolkien went into the Bird and Baby, into the pub, and C.S. Lewis being drunk and being obnoxious and everything. So don't fall for the Chronicles of Narnia or the Lord of the Rings thing. It's purely pagan. Wish I could say a lot more on that, but that would take me in another direction. But let's look at the last one here, revelings. Okay, what is a reveling? Well, it's basically partying. Wild, insane partying. And I have here a book by a demented pagan named Brian McLaren. He's one of the leaders of the Emergent Church, and I have him in my new video. This book, actually, it says why I am a missional evangelical post-Protestant, and he goes on to say Catholic unfinished Christian. Guy's warped. He has a whole bunch of things here, but I want to just read something he says about the Catholics, why he's a Catholic. He has a bunch of reasons here, and he says Catholics know how to party. That's one of his reasons why he calls himself a Catholic, because they know how to party. He says, but on the other hand, can you imagine Lutherans or Presbyterians or Baptists creating Mardi Gras? No, I can't. But, this is a good thing. Mardi Gras is a good thing, created by Catholics. So, whatever. Don't fall for the emergent church movement. It's very, very wicked. It's of the devil. But let's continue on here. Notice there in verse 21 it says, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. All of those things, all of those wicked lusts of the flesh are in abundance within the Catholic Church. It's not another form of Christianity. But now let's go back to Daniel chapter 2. Daniel chapter 2, verse 41. It says there, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes part of potter's clay, and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so shall the kingdom be partly strong and partly broken." Now I'm going to offer up a theory here, which kind of came to me as I was doing this message. And it's just a theory. I'm not going to teach this doctrinally and be dogmatic about it, but it's something that I think is very interesting. People say that there have been 4 kingdoms and the 5th one is coming. Well, here's my theory. What if we're in the 5th kingdom? What if we've been in the 5th kingdom since the 4th century? Has there ever really been a break in the Roman Catholic Church controlling things? Well, somewhat. I mean, they pretty much controlled everything with an iron fist, literally iron, up until the Protestant Reformation. But since then, have they lost complete control? Absolutely not. Who really is running things right now? I would say Rome. I mean, well, America is doing things and we're going out and imperialism and all this stuff. Yeah, but our president bows to the Pope. And the Pope says, I want you to do this and I want you to do that, I think Roman Catholicism is still calling the shots. So, like I said, I'm not going to be dogmatic about it, but I do believe that there's a possibility that we are in that 5th kingdom. And that doesn't mean that we're in the tribulation or anything. No. It just means that the 5th kingdom is there and ruling things, but the full manifestation of that kingdom is going to be in the tribulation. Okay? But I don't think that kingdom is just going to last for 7 years. I think that it's been here since about the 4th century. I just wanted to say that. But, by the way, I just want to say something else here. I want to make another point before we continue on here. The word Catholic. What is the word Catholic? Well, there's a Greek word, Katholikos, or something like this. And that's what, there was an early church father, and he used the term. So now this thing has been taught now for a long time that the early Christians called themselves Catholic. All because one church father said Katholikos, used a Greek word. So then all the early Christians called themselves Catholics. Well, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that for 1 minute. And you can see this thing being taught in our Bible colleges today. I believe it's because of Jesuit influence. Okay, you have early Christian groups like the Waldensians and the Albigensians, the Donatists, the Paulicians. There's no record of those people all ever calling themselves Catholic. Okay, it's not a Bible word. Well, what's it mean? It means universal. Okay, now think of the true meaning of the word universal. Does the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, are they trying to bring all religions together? Yeah. They are the universal church. Okay? Universal. The ones that control the most flesh. So now think about the feet there. Part iron, part clay. Roman Catholic. I mean, it works out perfectly. Universal. The majority of people. There's your clay. So you have Roman Catholic. I mean, it's right there. The iron, the clay. Roman Catholic. So, is the 5th kingdom here? Yeah, I think it is. Okay, and now it's going to be fully manifest in the future. They are taking over. But I want to show you something else which is interesting here very quickly. Daniel chapter 3, verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. And then it goes on to say about that he made a decree that whenever the rock band started playing, that everybody was to bow down and worship it. I mean, you look at the instruments that are listed there, by the way, that was probably a pretty, rocky sounding music that was being played. But the point is there, what is this image? Now, you ask the average Christian, they're going to tell you it's a statue of Nebuchadnezzar. But my contention is, it's not a statue. Nowhere in Daniel chapter 3, you look down through the whole thing, we're not going to go over it, but you read Daniel chapter 3 sometime and show me any place where it says the statue of gold. It doesn't. It says the image of gold. Okay? It never says statue. And look at the measurements of this thing. You have, the height is 60 cubits. What's a score in the Bible? 20. So 60 is 60. Okay? 60. And the breadth thereof 6 cubits. That was a little bit of gold there. Essentially, a cubit, if you work it out, you're talking about approximately 8.7 feet in diameter at the base and 87.45 feet high. So basically, we'll round it off to make it easy, 9 feet wide, 90 feet high. Now, figure that thing out. Would it make sense to have a statue of a man that is 10 times the height as it is wide? No. That's not the scale that you would make a man to. And you could say, well, there was a base and then the guy up on top. I don't know about that. And not only that, but you make a statue that's that high, an image that's that high. You get a major wind coming up. I mean, here, I'm wider up here than I am down at my feet. Well, guess what happens? You have an image, a statue. If it was a statue of Nebuchadnezzar, that thing couldn't take the wind. And if it's out in the plains, there's no trees to shield the wind from it. Okay? Do we have any statues here in America, any images that are very tall and very narrow?
Washington, D.C.
Yeah. What is it? What in Washington, D.C., what do we have? The Washington Monument. Yeah. It's an obelisk. Okay? I believe that that's what the image was. It doesn't say statue, it says image. And I can't really get into what the image of an obelisk means, but I'll just say it this way without trying to be crude. It is a male phallic symbol, an uncircumcised male phallic symbol. I'll say it that way. If you need to know more, email me. I'm not going to go into it. But the ancient worshippers of Baal worshipped the male phallic symbol. Okay? That's why they've always been perverts, because that is the center of their worship structure. Okay? And that's why the Hebrews, for them to bow down to an uncircumcised image, would have been absolute, totally out of the question. It would have been blasphemy. Okay? It would have been bad enough bowing down to a man, but bowing down to a phallic symbol like that, no way. They wouldn't have done it. I'm not going to bow down to something like that. Okay, but this symbol has been around for thousands of years. And you know what's interesting about it? Take a look at St. Peter's Basilica sometime. Right in the center of the Eightfold Path of Enlightenment, right in the center of it, is an obelisk from Egypt. And I actually asked some Catholics one time online, we were back and forth, and I asked them, I said, why would the Pope, if the Pope is a Christian, why would he ship an obelisk, a known occult symbol, why would he ship it from Egypt? An ancient Egyptian obelisk. What's going on there? No answer. How could you answer it? I mean, can't they make one there in Rome? Why ship one from Egypt? Doesn't make any sense. Unless it's that long line of Babylonian pagans, the priests of Baal, which is what a Catholic really, truly is. But you see, there again, you have the image of Baal, you have this image of gold being set up by Nebuchadnezzar, and the fifth kingdom sets up the same image. right in the middle of where all those people gather. You look at pictures of the Easter celebration, people covering that whole area, all around the obelisk. Okay? It's right there. It's right in front of you. Ancient Babylon is not gone and no more. It's alive and well today in the Roman Catholic Church. They are Mystery Babylon. I mean, you can't make a case for any of the other ones. It's not America. It's not Jerusalem. It's not Iraq. It's not the Illuminati. It's Roman Catholicism. It's plain and simple. And of course, two good books here. Obviously can't go over these, but three good books. Did the Catholic Church Give Us the Bible by David W. Daniels, Chick Publications. Very good. But then these are the two definitive works on it. You have here Babylon Religion, How a Babylonian Goddess Became the Virgin Mary by David Daniels, Chick Publications. It proves everything that I'm saying right now. And then the real scholarly work by Alexander Hislop, The Two Babylons, which is another great work on the whole Babylonian thing. Okay, now let's finish up here. A couple more places to turn to. Okay, but I just want to say, turn to Revelation 16 while we're turning there. You say, well, why would God blame today's Roman Catholic Church for all the righteous blood ever shed? And I think I kind of covered that already, because they are the same ancient Babylonian worshippers of Baal. And a lot of that stuff is more for private study. I can't get into too much of it here. But Revelation chapter 16, verse 19. People say, well, shouldn't we just forgive and forget the sins of Rome's past? Should we hold it against them, or should we just forgive and forget? Well, Revelation 16, verse 19 says, And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And look at this. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. You say, well, that's horrible. Why would a loving God do that? Let me tell you something. Loving God right there has let them go on about their wickedness for thousands of years now, and has not stopped them. His love is going to come to an end, though, at some point for them. And his long-suffering, I'll say, his long-suffering nature is eventually going to come to an end. This has not happened yet. And that's why the Roman Catholic Church, they try to allegorize and spiritualize the book of Revelation. And in fact, Vaticanus, one of the Roman Catholic Church's manuscripts, omits the whole book of Revelation. They just get rid of it. That's why the Roman Catholics can't handle the book of Revelation, because their destruction is prophesied. And it's coming. Turn over to Revelation 18. And while you're turning there, probably don't have to turn very far. I just want to say something here. This thing about forgiving and forgetting. You say, well, God's not going to forgive and forget. So what should a Christian do? Well, I have here a couple of articles. Here you have one on Jerry Falwell when he died. And it says, he put aside generations of anti-Catholic prejudice to form a close working relationship with conservative Catholics. That's what you call a traitor. And then the other one here, we'll read this real quick. Here when John McCain was running, you had John Hagee, that basically some of the Catholics were getting upset about, because John Hagee used to identify Mystery Babylon as Roman Catholicism. But here Hagee writes, quote, out of a desire to advance a greater unity among Catholics and evangelicals in promoting the common good, I want to express my deep regret for any comments that Catholics have found hurtful. Both men are traitors. Whether or not they were saved, I'm not going to say, but both of them are cowardly traitors. And by the grace of God, I will never, ever back down from calling Roman Catholicism Mystery Babylon. But now let's read here, finish up Revelation 18 verses 1 through 11. It says, And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, and death and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication, and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. All right. The Bible very clearly teaches there that it's not only is she going to be wiped out, Roman Catholicism, in 1 day, but it's actually going to be 1 hour. Now let's read here Revelation chapter 18. And we're going to go to we'll go to Revelation chapter 19. After Roman Catholicism is wiped out, this is what happens. Revelation 19 verse 1 says, And after these things I heard a great voice of much people in heaven, saying, Alleluia, salvation and glory and honor and power unto the Lord our God, for true and righteous are his judgments, for he hath judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and hath avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. And again they said, Alleluia, and her smoke rose up forever and ever. We're going to have a party and a celebration in heaven when we see Roman Catholicism being destroyed. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm not a martyr. I haven't lost any family members to Mystery Babylon, to Roman Catholicism. But I shouldn't say that. I should say I haven't lost any of my fleshly family to them. But I have lost spiritual members of my family to that system. And it's going to be a glorious day when they are finally destroyed. But I just want to read one other thing here. Just a man who had a lot of good sense. One of my heroes is Oliver Cromwell. God raised him up shortly after the Protestant Reformation, and actually right after the King James Version was completed. God raised up Oliver Cromwell as a great military hero to fight against Roman Catholicism and take away their physical political power. And he kicked them out of countries. He'd go in and he'd send warning, I'm coming, get out. He did that in Ireland. He did it in Scotland, a couple nations, and they were scared to death of the guy. Oliver Cromwell, when he was in command, never lost one battle. Not one. He was a great military hero. And by the way, while he was out there fighting, he was sick. He struggled with sickness all of his life. He was just an amazing man, and definitely saved. There's no question about that. But here he says, see, there was a big thing back then. Well, shouldn't we reform the Catholic Church? Maybe we could help them and change some of their corrupt ways and whatever. And Oliver Cromwell knew the scriptures. And he says, Whosoever would have gone about to heal Babylon when God was determined to destroy her, he does fight against God, because God will not have her healed. And that's it. Right there. God's not going to fix the Roman Catholic Church. Why? Because he's already written it. It's already in ink right here. It's going to be destroyed. Roman Catholicism's death warrant is already signed. But right now, like I said earlier, right now we have an opportunity with a lot of Catholics starting to doubt the Catholic Church because of all the abuse stuff going on. Right now is a great opportunity to witness to them and get them out of that system, okay, before it's too late. But do not ever, you yourself, don't ever fall for Roman Catholic lies. Don't ever try to unify with them. Don't ever try to come to a place of common consent. Don't ever do it. And number two, if you have a pastor or a leader of any kind and they're friendly to the Roman Catholic Church, get away from them. Get as far away from them as you can. I don't care how quote-unquote godly they are or spiritual they are. If they say that the Roman Catholic Church is okay and don't talk about the crimes of the past and don't talk about the Jesuits, they are crooked. They're corrupt. So I guess that's it for this morning. Thank you for listening.
Let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine. For the Scripture saith, Thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward. If these sermons or videos have been a blessing to you, please help us to continue this work by supporting this ministry. You can send a check payable to Bryan Denlinger to King James Video Ministries, P.O. Box 300, Bradford, PA 16701. Or you can donate online through PayPal at our website, www.kingjamesvideoministries.com. Thank you, and may the Lord Jesus Christ bless you.